Reasons to avoid sending the last text to a man. Your only source of confidence is derived now from either doing nothing or showing with actions that you deserve respect, or being busy with your own self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay, so basically you have lost all your power in texting, or most of it, and you don't appear confident whatsoever, but you don't even feel confident. It's time to focus on yourself and change the narrative. Next one. He starts disrespecting you and keeps doing it after you called him out immediately, hopefully. So because you keep sending text messages over and over again, even without him replying or reacting or changing his behavior, in case you do not like it, the patterns remain the same, and you should be bored, but you're not really bored. But even if you're bored, you keep texting him to not feel bored. But the result is the same. It's boring for him, and he wants quote unquote danger outside of the relationship. But the only way that he will find that is if he looks for another person outside of you. Now, of course, it will all come back around later with that person too. So there's nothing to worry about, because he will not change thanks to you anyway. If he cheated on you now, he will do it again with the next person. So that's not on you. But how do you know who he even is if you only make assumptions and are not even sure if your feelings come from your sincere and aligned intuition? Next, he keeps things shallow and lazy. He stops sending you either money or texts, which is horrible because that's ghosting. But most importantly, he stopped making efforts. So how else will you show him that you deserve what you want, if not by respecting yourself and waiting for him to step up? Next, he started becoming verbally abusive as a quote-unquote boredom releasing activity. So now that he's sensing that you're bored and so you text him, now he's getting so bored that even if he doesn't reach out to another person, he will keep disrespecting you and starts to reach for other tools such as abuse. Now, of course, this is unacceptable, and I really do recommend you look up the topic of verbal abuse, because it can range anywhere from gaslighting, which is questioning your truth, how you feel, what you've felt, what you've experienced through triangulation, so drawing another third party into the picture and mentioning them and talking negatively either about them or you, or simply testing you to the limit that you just cannot put up with it. So that's disrespect, and that's not acceptable. But how will you make him know? How will you make it known and make it be visible and palpable and tangible that you actually command respect, if it's not by showing with your actions that you fed up and you will not answer unless something changes? And you should do this immediately after you recognize the incident occur, because unless you do that, how else will he pick up on your reaction if it's too late positioned from the behavior itself, meaning your boundaries are kicking in too late. Now that's not how it works. You should react immediately, but definitely respond and keep as little emotion in your expression as possible, so that you do not get overpowered by your emotions. Next, your body is getting worse and worse due to phone usage, because the activity of texting itself is so addictive. So assuming you're in love, right? So, because you've been with this person, or you're attached to this person, you're in love, you're addicted to this person, right? You're codependent. So you want to ditch that. But how do you do that if you're actually addicted to this person? Well, first of all, you gotta know that we live in a world made for men by men, which means mostly and most importantly, the business world serves men first and foremost. How women operate, which is based on a monthly cycle, is not optimal for a woman to work or be in the workplace as a regular employee or employer even. However, because of this, because he most likely has a job, he most likely has an occupation, right? If not additional activities and hobbies on top of him being busy due to his job. He's busy, so even if he doesn't answer you in a matter of few hours or even days, who knows? Once a person works 16-hour days or so, it's impossible to imagine for someone who is just not in that position. For example, so let's say your man is a businessman, he has a business, but you never had a business, you don't know what it takes, you don't know what it's like, and yet you're in an emotional state. Who do you have to reach out to? Do you have a therapist? Do you have a friend? Do you have your mom? Whatever, who will not leash back onto you with sayings like, oh, you should change your mind, like giving, unsolicited advice. But who actually listens and who actually you can vent out to. So do you have someone like that, or do you journal? What do you do as a result of your emotions and feeling them? Because if you don't have such a release, a platform for a release, then obviously your emotions may overpower you, and then you may reach immediately for texting, which in the first place is not a bad idea, because your emotions matter, but desperation is just a cover over despair. So go into that. Next, now you see him clearly for who he actually is, and yeah, keep sacrificing yourself for nothing or worse. Again, this goes back to the previous point that I have made, which is he no longer makes efforts or sends you money or worse. You cannot keep sacrificing yourself. You cannot be a martyr. You cannot play like a martyr. But you should know that expressing yourself is not sacrificing yourself. How you express yourself also matters, and when you do, even more so matters. So, make sure that once you get to the point of communicating with him, you're actually in a sane mental state. So, I'm not questioning whether you're sane or not here. I'm just reminding you that we all get strong emotions sometimes, and we have to remind ourselves of where these emotions come from. And unless you can identify the reason and cause and deal with it in the minute, in the moment, and on spot, you have to digest as much of it as possible in the moment, especially when you're not with him, because when you're not with him, he's somewhere else, so you don't see what he's doing, you don't see what he's up to, so you cannot make sure that he even has the capacity to react and digest the same issues that you're going through. And I know that it's as sad as it sounds, because for someone who's been through abandonment and desperately needs closeness and connection physically, this is extremely hard. So I don't recommend that you get into a long distance relationship in case you want to heal, right? And let's face it, most situationships of today are exactly like that. They're long distance, even though people just want to be close to each other. That's what modern dating has become, through online dating and online communicating. So you're not alone, but the truth is that this type of communication is not really natural for our bodies, and it's okay if you just want to have a break every now and then, you know what I mean? Like, it's not just don't be desperate, it's so much more than that, because you do deserve what you want, and you do deserve what you believe in. And if you see now who he actually is, despite or because of your way of communication between you and him or else, or because he told you about who he actually is. Maybe he's a cheater, and maybe he admitted it. Who knows? You can actually stop there and make a decision for yourself. Okay, how do I want to have this keep going? Maybe I don't want to do this anymore, right? So please don't just text him out of boredom, because people don't date out of boredom. People date because they need love. There's such a big gap between the two, so you have to stop and define your own standards when it comes to dating and closeness, right? Next, he never follows up on promises anymore. Maybe he used to promise you the stars, the world, everything else in between, but if he just keeps promising, that's not gonna solve anything. So the universe works like this: nothing has ever solved itself, nothing has ever fixed itself. Sometimes the best type of doing is not doing anything at all, just being passive. On top of that, how fun is it that the cherry on top is your femininity? It's passivity, it's doing nothing. Feminine energy is doing nothing at the end of the day, so just know that. You don't need to do anything to begin with. Of course, if you want to get something out of him or out of dating, that's a different story. But that you also have to admit to yourself, and then once you're honest with yourself and know your reasons, then consider your efforts, right? Okay, so next, the free trial for you has expired, meaning you're running out of energy. You're not feeling comfortable in the situationship anymore. Maybe he feels the same if he loves you, but you just keep texting each other out of decency. Maybe you both have an anxious attachment style, which defines that you prefer not texting each other out of a need for security sometimes, but you keep doing it because that's how you've been raised. Because you were rewarded as a child for being reactive and being there and being present and being extremely closely attached, right? That's basically the definition of anxious attachment style. So, next. He's testing now your financial security. Maybe he's not even just not sending you money anymore. Maybe he's also pushing it out, like talking about money, like testing you even more. You mentioned to him that, okay, I'm struggling financially, I need help, things like that. If he's supportive to begin with, he should at least offer to send you money or react somehow positively. But if all he does is tell you that, okay, I would love to help you, but I cannot do this now. We haven't seen each other for so long. Now that's biased. Like, that's, you shouldn't put up with that, should you? No, you shouldn't. Like, that's just not an option here. Okay, so next. You think that endings are failures, so you're so afraid of losing him that you just keep texting him, even though nothing is going on. Or worse, you're with him for nothing. You're with him for free. And you feel insecure as a result, because obviously the more time you spend with him, the more unfinished business you gotta have with him. And on the other side of the spectrum, he may even feel the opposite if he doesn't even love you. He might think, okay, so this girl comes to me so many times. Every time she comes, the business is getting more and more finished, and I just want to get rid of her every day more and more. Maybe this is exactly how he thinks, but you have to know why that's attractive to you if he thinks that way, right? And you also have to know that endings are not failures. They're an opportunity to change. But even if you don't do anything anymore, like you don't even text him, or you text him but something within you changes that is not yet implying of your openness to change, that's also okay. You don't have to You don't have to jump straight into a new relationship just because you've ended another one. Like, you should take your time, right? To even recover, go on dates alone, things like that. Let yourself grieve, things like that. But endings are not failures in and of themselves. So, next, he wants to be the one spoiled now. Now, if you really, let's assume that you finish the relationship of this situationship right here and now. What's gonna happen? He's likely going to go on to the next woman, or maybe he's gonna come back if he's high value. But if he doesn't come back, he will expect princess treatment from the next woman. He will expect more from the next woman, likely, because that's how you trained him. That's what he assumes of women now, because of you. So the point is that he's expecting to be spoiled more and more by you, just because you're jumping through hoops. And you are pouring your heart out to him, and the world is losing you, actually. So he sees more of you potentially, but the world is losing you because of him. Like, this is not normal. This is not normal. So you're just so distracted by him in general. Maybe you make yourself be distracted by him because that's what you think love is, right? Maybe that's not. Who knows? Okay. Next. You want to get something from him. Okay, so this reason in and of itself can be big enough that I'm saying that unless you're very strategic about everything in the relationship and you're okay with some lies not being sad here and there, you should know that if your only point is to get something out of him, like physical security, without him showing the potential of giving you that, then what are you doing? So, unconditionality goes out the window, but that's not the point. The point is that even with all these conditions, there is no love, and even if there is love, the conditions do not work because they make you two incompatible. Okay, next. He's not even boyfriend status, so you're actually just in a situationship, maybe not even in a long distance relationship. Okay, so next. You're on the edge of mothering him, meaning you want to now boss him around, you want to smother him, you want him to change, and he's feeling like he has to run because of this, because you're not his mother. He remember, he only has one mother, just like you. He doesn't need another one, I guess. Even if he did need another mother, you couldn't change him because his own mother cannot. So next, you're the one who disrespects him. So another reason never to text him again is if you're now sending disrespectful messages to him as a means to I don't know, get some of your power back or things like that. You're starting to offend him, but not on purpose as much as out of emotion. Again, unless your offensive behavior has a very clear purpose, it's not worth it, because it's coming out of emotion, and you don't want that, because if it's not considered, it's very risky to be negative to other people, right? Like, why would you do that in general? Why would you offend anyone to begin with? Okay, so next. Even though he's not giving you closure, making you feel empty over all this period of time, he's still not changing. He's still out here making you feel emptier every time you interact with him. So, yeah. You're just left there empty, like an empty shell every time. Basically, all the love you ever get close to feeling is when he uses you, but abuses you. Like, okay, intimacy in and of itself is not a love, right? Intimacy and love can go hand in hand, but they don't always. So, okay, next. He says that he will get back to you, or he makes excuses for why he does not see you. Okay, let's say he's with his mom, right? Or girlfriend, who knows? Let's say he's with the person he's cheating you on right now. What does he say? Does he say that he's with the person with whom he's cheating on you right now? No, of course not. What he actually does is tell you that he is with his mom or sister or dog, or he's in Thailand, he's building a new gym, whatever. He's making excuses as to why he's late, why he got back to you late, and it's getting extremely suspicious, because every time he does that, it's like you have to even make an effort to consider whether his thing is true or not. Like, every time he texts you something, you're just there having to make an effort to not burst out in laughter just because of what he just sent you, which is, funnily enough, about his non-presence in his life, in your life, which is ironic, because you're texting him, he's texting you. So, yeah, you see where I'm coming from? Okay, so the last point is actually very funny. You want to avoid being a clown. I think nothing is clearer than this. Like, you should actually just consider that it's not normal for you as a woman to be the one who reaches out every time. Like, that's not natural. On top of that, if you don't even let him any space to get back to you, to reach out to you again, to reignite the spark again, he physically cannot afford to be the masculine one to be the initiator